Hey, this is worksheet 7.1. Rewrite using a radical. So we want a symbol that looks like this in our final answer. Remember, the denominator is the value that goes right there, our index, and then that 1, the numerator of the fraction, is like your power. Of course, we don't really need the power of 1 written because it's assumed that it's the power of 1 if we don't see a value up there. Our base is 3. Our index is 4, and that's raised still to the 5th power. Number 3, the root or index is 6, and again the power or exponent up there continues to be 1, which we don't have to write down. What number goes in the radical here? In the radical goes a 2. Our index is 9, and it's still raised to the power of 7 there. X goes in the radical. What number goes out in front? It's a 5. It's raised to the 3rd power. Number 6, in the radical we have a 7. The index or root is 7, and it's still raised to the power of 4. Now we're going to write this in exponential form, so going backwards. So I'm not going to have a radical written down. So what number would have been in the denominator of my fraction? It would have been a 3. And what the power here is a 1, so it has to be a 1/3. Our base is z. The denominator is the index, and that's 2. And it's raised to the power of 3, so it's 3/2. Our base here is 2. It's raised to the power of, the denominator is 7, the numerator is 4. Y is raised to the 7/9. 5 is raised to the, there's a 1 there, so my denominator on the power is 4, and the numerator is 1, 5 to the 1/4. The base is x, raised to the 5/11. Boom shakalaka. Part 2, solve the following equations. Round your answer to the nearest 3 decimals. So, to get x by itself, well, it's being raised to the 4th power, so to undo that we need to 4th root it. So x equals, and this is where we're going to have 2 roots, so it's plus or minus, and then the 4th root of 11 is 1.821. Make sure you know how to punch that into a calculator. If you don't, come ask me for some help. Here, x is getting multiplied by 3. It's also getting raised to the power of 5. Remember, we always undo the operations from the bottom to the top. So there's no addition or subtraction to undo, but there is some multiplication to undo by dividing by 3. So we get x to the 5th power equals 9. So now I need to undo taking something to the power of 5 by taking it to the 5th root. So x is going to equal whatever 9 to the 5th root is. So in other words, what times itself 5 times is 9. Use your calculator for that. You get 1.552. Number 3, x is getting multiplied by -1 and raised to the power of 3. Undo multiplying by the power of 1 by dividing by a undo multiplying by -1 by dividing by -1. So this undoes multiplying by -1 or the -1 out in front. Oofda. Started saying something goofy there. Sorry about that. So now this is x to the power of 3. I need to undo the power of 3 by taking it to the 3rd power or the 3rd root, the 1/3 power or the 3rd root. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So x equals, we're taking what number times itself 3 times is -64. Your 3rd root of -64 is -4. All right, let me rewrite down PEMDAS. So in number 4, x is getting raised to the 4th power. Well, you might be saying, well, all right, x is getting added to by 3, but that's in the parentheses. So that's actually the last thing we're going to undo. The other thing that's getting done to x is it's getting raised to the 4th power. So the first thing I need to undo is the 4th power by taking the 4th root. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So the 4th power undoes the fourth root or vice versa, however I showed it inside it was switched. And then over here on the right side, I'm thinking what number times itself 4 times is 32? Well, 32 is not a very big number to be raised to the 4th power, so I'm guessing 2 would be the only option. 2 times 2 times 2, no, that doesn't work, shoot. 2 to the 5th power is 32, so I missed there. So I'm going to grab my calculator and take the 4th root of 32. Now the calculator says, at least from space right here, 2.378. But it's plus or minus, because when we take an even positive root, you get the plus or minus. So now x is not by itself yet. I need to undo adding that 3, so I subtract that 3 from each side. Now x equals negative 3, because this 3 is definitely negative. It's the 2.378 that's positive and negative. So the negative 3 comes first, then plus or minus 2.378. And so that means x equals, once you add those numbers, you get negative 0.622. And when you subtract the numbers, you get negative 5.378. Beautiful. Undo the subtraction first. So we'll add 11 to each side. Add 11 to each side. That means that 6x squared equals 60. Undo the multiplication next. So that means that x squared equals 10. Undo squaring by square rooting. So that means x equals plus or minus 10. But we're playing the game where we actually square root it or take it to this 1/2 power, because that's what square root means. And there we are. Number 6, subtract 3 to undo adding 3. Undo multiplying by negative 8 by dividing by negative 8. So x to the 4th power equals 2. So to undo the 4th power, do the 4th root. It's a positive even exponent, so that gives me plus or minus whatever the 4th root of 2 is, which is 1.189. If you take 1.189 times itself 4 times, it builds slowly and you get 2. Of course, it's also a negative 1.89, because if you take negative 1.89 times itself 4 times, you end up getting a positive since you're multiplying a negative an even number of times.